Buckle up. Mary Kate in the house, MK Bizzle, Mary Kizate, your host of episode 17 of Travel Disasters. I just got back from a spontaneous weekend in Nashville where I drove 8 hours, performed 3 shows at the Comedy Bar, and ate my weight in barbecue. I'm still high on life, country music, and homemade biscuits. Thank you so much for having me, Nashville Comedy Bar. This week, you can see me performing at Zany's Rosemont on Tuesday, October 1st at 8 p.m., as well as Saturday, October 5th. I will be on at 10 at the Store at 9 p.m., so make sure to check that out. If you missed all that information, you can find all of my upcoming shows on my beautiful website, sponsored by Squarespace, mkbcomedy.com, and follow me on Instagram at mkbcomedy to watch it all happen in real time. I literally post my entire life on my Instagram stories. Also, make sure to follow this podcast socials. We are Travel Disasters on every form of social media. I post our guest travels, my travels, behind-the-scene videos of us recording. So follow us right now, and you can come along for the ride. You don't want to miss out. Thank you so much for listening on whatever platform tickles your fancy. We are on Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher if you're edgy. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, do me a huge solid and dish out some 5 stars like Chris Farley dishes out those sloppy joes, and leave a written review. I work really hard on this podcast and I want to hear from you. If you leave a review, I will read it on the air and make you famous. It'll be like when Delilah reads thoughtful messages from fans on Light FM. So I'll even read it like in her Delilah voice. It'll be amazing. So send those in. And I'm really into this thing right now where like you give gifts, you let the universe know that you're open to receiving gifts and all the opportunities in the world. It's literally changed my life. If you need to do a good deed today, make sure to tell someone about this podcast. Word of mouth is literally the greatest gift you can give to this podcast. It's how all the great ones have gotten off the ground. Send it to your lover, to your landlord, to your Uber Eats delivery driver. They can listen while they're dropping off your ramen. Also, if you have a travel disaster of your own, I want to hear it. I'm dedicating a full episode coming soon where I will throw this puppy into autopilot and read listeners' stories. So if you are not local to the Jazz Fuzz studio, if you're an introvert or like in the witness protection program or something and you can't be on the air, but you have a great travel story, send it to traveldisasters@gmail.com. I can't wait to read it on our mini-sode. Now, on to the fun stuff. This week's episode is one of the first people I ever met when I started doing comedy. He is my writing partner, my confidant, one of my best friends in comedy. Matt MacLean is in the hot seat. He and his engineering buddies are taking a Eurotrip that they spent months planning. They made game plans, blueprints, spreadsheets. It sounds like the nerdiest trip on the planet, but these engineers go hard and they bar crawl their way across Europe. It makes me want to travel exclusively with engineers. It's absolutely hilarious. So here we go. Baby, we're going on the trip from hell, where every flight is missed, they lose your luggage, and you're in the middle seat between a sumo wrestler and a screaming baby. Don't worry, I'm coming along for the ride. I'm Mary Kate Beck, and this is Travel Disasters.
How's it going, Mary Kate?
My boobs are sweating. It's so hot outside.
Yeah, I got the full sweat going on. I biked here and was sweating. You saw me panicked when I walked in.
I saw you like chaining up your bike outside. Yeah. I'm like, are you okay?
Also, I'm like not used to the like biking in the commute zone. I don't know. It was it was a whole thing. But got up here, got in the AC. This is awesome. This is so cool.
Yes, we're in Funky Town. It's the best place ever.
This is what it's called. It's called Funky Town.
Yeah, I think so. It's Jazz Fuzz, I guess, technically. Aaron's panicking. Funky Town.
You switch it every week.
Yeah.
It's a new music theme every week.
Exactly. How are you, buddy? Long time no see. Just kidding. I feel like I see you 3 times a week.
Every open mic and show.
So we have a long history together. We've been buddies for what is it, 3 years now?
Yeah, 3 years and change.
Yeah.
Started comedy the same day.
Yes, we are literally day one comedy friends. Like, that's not an exaggeration. This was the first day I started professionally is a stretch, but like actively pursuing comedy and improv level 1.
Yeah, if you count professional comedy by paying for improv classes, then we start at the same time.
Paying thousands of dollars. But it's like, that's what holds you accountable though.
It was great. Yeah, I loved the improv classes. I thought they were great.
Hated it so much. We have this debate like every time we see each other because you're good at improv, whatever that means.
Well, I'm not...
I hate it. I hate it so much. I don't even remember our first teacher. I remember her being really cool.
Jessica something.
Yes. Yeah. She was great. But like, just like the zip, zap, zop bullshit and like, okay, now start off the scene. You're going to be washing dishes. And I'm like, what?
Yeah,
like, this is
a lot of object work.
Yes. It was so just brutal. And you're like rubbing a rag on an invisible plate. And then like, I would just get so pissed because there's so many weirdos in improv that you'd be like, I'm washing dishes, and they're like, at a funeral, and it's like, what?
Well, I bet you were like one of the few funny people in that level 1 because it's like level 1, it takes all kinds.
Yeah, anybody and everybody can do it.
But yeah, so it's like I remember I think we drew to each other because we're like, oh, these people are like, you're a comedy person, you like comedy, but there's so many people that are just like, yeah, my company told me to get some speaking skills, so I'm going in here. We're like, oh, this is, and you just get into the scene.
Yeah, like
with
my
those people.
kids are in college now, so I thought I should get out of the house.
Oh yeah,
like
so we'd have to like bond in mutual misery.
Yeah, we were like, hey, you're normal-ish. What's going on? Yeah, and then we were in level 1 together, and then we didn't like see each other after that ever. And then I remember you like subbed or whatever in our level 2 class.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when I saw you and I was like, Matt, what are you doing here? And you're like, oh my God, what's up? And then I was like, I need your phone number because like I didn't know if I was ever going to see you again after that. And then
it was a while after that, right? And then maybe like open mics or something. Do you remember when we like ran into each other again? It was probably like a year later or something.
Probably.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. But I remember being like, I need to get this kid's number like and hang out with him soon. And then we've just been friends like since.
Yeah. We both started doing stand-up and then just saw each other all the time.
Yeah. I remember we used to go to Cupcake Cabaret a lot.
Yep.
That was a good starter mic. Highly recommend.
Martin is the best host ever.
For sure. And then we would just like crush beers afterwards. And yeah. Now we're just like buddies. We write all the time.
Yeah.
Road trips.
Couple road trips, couple good writing sessions. Which is another thing of like, I feel like improv is, okay, here's another, I'll start the debate up again. I'm like, improv, it's so collaborative and everyone's like on each other's team, and then stand up gets so solitary so many times. But we'd actually like have each other's back. We're like, let's write together at least a couple times, which we should do more. We should. I know. Every time I was like, this was so much more beneficial than trying to just sit by myself with this bit that I've been banging my head against the wall.
Right. And just rack your brain. And then it's like, I feel like we're very open about feedback too, and like, hey, here's a note on this bit, or like, have you ever thought about it this way? Because I feel like we both have very similar thought processes where we can get into rabbit holes on shit. And like, I don't know, you see things a lot differently than I do, and we can just like change perspectives on jokes, and it's refreshing because it's like, if you only see a joke one way and keep doing it the same way on stage, then you're going to give up on it.
Oh, yeah. The rabbit
we're both
hole.
like, we're like, no, there's something there. Let's get it. Yeah.
And we're like, you need to let it go.
Yeah. Just bury it. It's fine. Like,
Well, you need to have that friend that's just like, I think this one's dead, buddy. Yeah, you got to let, and we're like, there's merit to it, right? And you're like, no, just walk away. It's fine.
It's fine. It was dead before it even started.
Don't have the heart to tell you that.
So you're on the sode today. What do we have in store?
Traveling disaster story from me is going to be very big presentation. Okay, so we both did Eurotrip after college, right?
I did mine in college.
You did yours in college, okay.
Yes. So before we dive into this, on a scale of like agoraphobe, never leaving the house, like hoarder, to like one of those travel bloggers that like inboxes you on Instagram and is like, do you want to live a remote lifestyle? It's like, what is it? Cage free or something?
Cage free human.
Yeah. Like, where do you fall? Are you an expert, or are you just kind of like, I travel when I have to?
I mean, ideally, I'd like to be one of these people who could travel. That was kind of the goal. So I quit my office job. And part of the intention was like, I'm going to work from wherever. I'm going to be one of these digital nomads that like works around. I'm just going to freelance. And then.
How'd that work out for you, Matt?
Well, it's a lot more expensive to do that than I realized. So, and there's not comedy everywhere. So it's a lot more of just like, well, if I'm leaving, then I'm like, oh, am I not getting stage time? And I start missing comedy.
I'm a firm believer in like going on vacation and just enjoying a vacation.
It's tough for me to do. It's tough for me to just like sit back and like take a couple weeks off.
You're like, this is a waste.
Yeah.
Like, I should be performing.
Yeah. So I get that itch. But I love traveling. I try to go on like a big trip, like a big just unplug for like a couple weeks. I like nature trips mostly. So I like to do like hiking trips and backpacking trips mostly.
Yeah. You are a pretty outdoorsy guy.
Yeah, I love those
ones. You grew up
ones.
Kind of outdoorsy, right?
Yeah, northern Minnesota.
Right.
God. A lot of camping trips in the Boy Scouts.
Oh my God, I never knew that.
Oh yeah, Eagle Scout, baby.
I need a photo of that for social media. What?
Yeah.
In your little uniform? And your buttons.
Yep, the neckerchief.
I'm wearing one right now.
Yeah, you can fit right in the Boy Scouts.
Oh my God, amazing.
But I feel like Boy Scouts get a bad rap, but like Northern Minnesota Boy Scouts were legit because we like would go up to Canada, we go to like Apostle Islands and like go on these like
on foot, probably, yeah,
a bike canoe and get
that
it right.
we wove together with straw.
We handcrafted them, and yeah, but the camping was great up there. But like everyone's like Boy Scouts, so like what would you do there? Just be like, oh, we had all the wilderness up there. It was fantastic.
You had to be a Boy Scout.
Yeah,
that was probably the cool thing to do. In Chicago, it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
It's cool up until you're like 16, and then you start caring about girls and drinking, and then you're like, why am I still in this? And then you just have to keep doing it to get that eagle, you know?
Yeah.
That they put that little nugget in front of your face, and they're like, keep chasing that, you'll get it.
Yeah, you'll get the Eagle Scout one day.
Yeah.
So that's pretty adventurous, I'd say. So your disaster takes place in Europe post-college. So how old are you, 22?
I think I'm 21 still.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're such a nerd. Did you graduate early?
I'm 22. Yeah, I'm 22.
Okay.
So that's yeah. So it's 2012.
Like, I graduated in December of my senior. I just expedited the process. I'm 20 years old.
I had 4 degrees. You didn't know that? Yeah.
I'm a Dr. Matt.
Yeah. And then I decided to do comedy.
There you go.
Yeah, 22. Right. With 6 buddies. We're going to do the Europe trip.
Oh, wow.
We're gonna
That's
do, like,
a lot of buddies.
Yeah. We did like 15 cities, like over 5 weeks, I think.
Oh, is this the spreadsheet that you sent me?
Yes, that's right.
Oh my God.
So, yeah,
okay.
Mary Kate was going on Europe trip with like her friends like recently. And she's like, what should I do? And I'm like, I have just the thing. My engineering buddies and I made a spreadsheet of every city you should go to and the exact itinerary of train schedule. And
train schedules, hotels. Like, it was a pivot table of information. I was like, I'm going to go ahead and throw this in the trash. I couldn't follow it. I'm really sorry.
Well, it was a perfect document, so you should have followed it.
Oh my God. So you and 6 engineers. Jesus.
We all went, and so there's like 2 types of engineers, though. I feel like in school, it was like kind of the ones that you'd see in the library, like 24/7. They would just sleep there. And there's the ones that would just like kill themselves during the week, and then on the weekends,
be crazy people.
You'd see them just blacked out at the bar. So it's like we kind of congregated together of the ones that would just like pull the ripcord on Friday and be like, I gotta wipe my brain clean for next week. That was kind of our stress relieving style of college. So it was like all those guys. So it was gonna be like it was a good trip.
You guys all have fun.
Yeah, it was like we were like, oh, we're gonna like tear it up, and it was gonna be fun. Like college kids, so just like, let's go nuts before we have to start in the real world type of thing.
So what's the itinerary? Since I deleted the original one you sent me, what cities are you going to?
So we started off in Lisbon, Portugal, and started off like, okay, we like toured the whole city, super ambitious. And then it slowly got into like just like less and less touristy things and more just drinking the entire time. So it went from like Lisbon to Barcelona. And then we did one night in Ibiza. And
then, I want to hear more about that.
Back to Barcelona in like so it was just no sleep for 3 days of Barcelona, Ibiza, Barcelona, a type of thing. I feel like this just sounds douchey already.
It sounds amazing.
Like, 22, just like chilling in Ibiza.
Like, in Ibiza, Mike Posner was there, and so was Skrillex. So it was pretty fucking dope.
So I feel like I have to like say I would do the trip differently now. This is let's just put ourselves in college. Matt's brain, fresh out of college. This is what we were just like we're gonna party the entire time. For 30 days. Well, you could do that too. You could just drink for 30 days.
Your body is like insufferable. Like it can't.
It can't suffer.
It can't suffer.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was a stretch, and then it was like Nice, Aix-en-Provence, and Paris, and then Luxembourg. 'Cause my mom was living in Luxembourg, so we stayed with her, and like 6 guys just sleeping on her like 1-bedroom apartment floor.
Oh my God, that's so
she, like,
cute.
Made us dinner, and we did laundry for the first time in like 2 weeks.
That's a big deal.
That was huge.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
Mrs. McLean.
Shout out, Mrs. McLean. International School of Luxembourg.
Yeah.
Great house. And then went to Venice, which is not up 6 dudes in a Eurotrip city.
Yeah, that's like a romantic honeymoon. Like you take your lover there and you like only make love there. No one fucks. Right. It's like you make tender love in Venice.
You have like a $10 bottle of wine. That's the best wine you've ever had.
Seafood
you like
and
watch
like
some string quartet on the San Marco Square.
Exactly.
And then so we were doing that and just like listening to this romantic music. We're just like, so like we get shit faced tomorrow.
Yeah.
This like picture ass.
So out of your element. You're like, fuck this. Are there any like Peronis or whatever the Italian beer is?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Definitely had a lot of those.
I crushed those. That's like their Miller Lights.
Oh my God. Yeah. So we had some weird train situations in I don't even know what I want to dive into. Like, there's so many weird stories along the way.
Well, where's the disaster?
The disaster comes like 5 cities later in Prague, where we're like really cocky at this point. And we're like, okay, like nothing's bad happened yet. We like kind of know. We get to a new city, get your bearings, and then just like go out.
Yeah,
and we've kind
Prague
of got
is the shit. That's a good city for bro-y college boys.
Yeah,
bro-y college engineers.
Right. Yeah, and it's just like it's like a very party centric city.
Fun, yeah.
So it's like as soon as we got in, they're like talking about these bar deals that is like $20 all you can drink for like the entire night type of things. We're like, this is what we're doing for sure.
Yeah.
And like the only thing we heard about Prague was like this bachelor party of guys we met in the city before. That was like, okay, one thing you have to remember, just don't get in the cabs because all they do.
I got in a cab and I spent $200.
Yep. They're like, they're gonna rip you off and they're just gonna drop you off in the prostitute square.
Yep.
And then they're going to try to rip you off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was bamboozled.
What happened to you? What was the...
It was me and my friend Jill. We went to, and I'm so curious if you went to this bar. We went to like a 5-story discoteca. It was insane. And
Sounds right.
We fell out of there at like probably 6 a.m. and just fell into a sob cab with, I don't even know if it was like legal. It probably was just a human in a car, and we're like, take us home. And they thankfully took us to our Airbnb, which was so nice because like they totally could have dropped us off in the middle of nowhere. And we just woke up the next morning being like, wow, we are like 200 whatever Prague money is. I can't think of the name. Short. Like we just both didn't have 200 of the currency that we had the day before. And I just like went back into my blackout and I was just like, oh my God, I just remember like throwing fistfuls of cash at this guy and he was like yelling at us.
Yeah, he's like, more. I need more.
Yeah, we're like, fuck. So yeah, everyone, PSA, do not take a cab in Prague.
No. He probably drove around the block like 3 times too. And it was just like, all right, yeah.
We're just like head spinning, like
I mean, it's
idiots.
Like I think they all work in concert. It's like the prostitutes, the cab drivers, and these like bar crawl organizers.
Crime.
They're like, okay, we'll get them blackout, and then you guys pick them up, and then we'll just all kick each other some cash at the end of the night. Yeah.
So you and your buddies, did you find a bar to go to, or like where'd you guys start out?
Yeah, I was like, so we did one of these things that was like all Americans basically. So it was like kind of pointless anyway. Like we could have just done this in Chicago, but it was 100%. Like we start out, we go to the first bar and then we get pretty drunk. And so it's like we go to the second bar and like by the second bar, let's like call my buddy Tim, I guess, because he probably doesn't want
anonymous.
me to. I don't want, he's not going to want me to say
All
the
right,
story.
Tim, wink, wink.
So he's already so drunk by the first bar after the first 30 minutes of this bar crawl that he tries to get into the second one, tries to just walk by the bouncer and just gets turned right around and starts walking out and just face plants onto the asphalt outside and then hops up just like a cat and just sprints away. And so we're like
away from the bar?
Away from the bar.
Oh, so we're you guys someone has to.
Yeah, we're like, okay, so I guess we gotta search for him now. So it's like 2 of you go that way, 2 of us go this way. Let's split up, meet back here in 15. Our phones don't work, so we kind of have to plan this out, right?
Oh, Jesus.
So we look for him, we come back, and of course, we don't find him.
Fuck.
And we're like, okay, well, Taylor's just dead.
Yeah,
he's dead now. And it's total dude logic of well, I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner because it's been 2 weeks and it was a good run.
He had a good life.
Yeah, it was not bad. So, we got the rest of this bar deal.
Yeah, we have to get our money's worth.
We're going to go back in, so we're just assholes.
You can only do so much. What are you going to fucking do?
Or just hope for the best.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm the next one to go down where it's that bar, I get super drunk. And I remember trying to talk to my friends that were there. We met up with some other people and they're like, okay, you're hot. And I remember this later, they were telling me, but I was just so drunk and I'm trying to get directions with my map. They're like, walk 2 blocks that way. Your hostel's there. It is 2 blocks away.
You can't
miss
fuck this up. Yeah.
I remember asking him 3 times, left, got back in, kept asking him what was it again? And they're 2 blocks, dude.
Just 2 blocks.
And I remember, so the last time okay, I got this. And I go out and just immediately forget
I can just see yourself pep talking yourself. Matt, you got this. Okay. 2 blocks away. Yeah.
Just do this. You got this. And then just in a foreign street with no idea. I'm and then I kind of black out then. And then I come to and I'm on a bus going cross town somewhere. And I have a full cigarette in my hands. I'm talking to these 3 Czech guys who are just enthralled by some story I'm regaling of America.
God.
And they're just I'm holding court in this bus. And
you're a hero.
And I'm so I'm confused. I'm what is happening? These guys are interested in something. And I'm okay, I got some friends at least on this bus. I'm where are we going again, you guys? You're oh yeah, you don't remember? We're going to the prostitute square to party.
Holy shit.
I'm oh, okay. And so next stop, I just sprint out of the bus and just start running around.
Yeah.
And so I have no idea where I am at this point, right?
Yeah.
And so I start just running around and I get to a food cart and I see that bachelor party of guys that had told us don't get in the cabs.
Wow, that's so lucky.
Doesn't even register as weird or anything to me. I'm just oh, nice. I know these people. I'm
hey, friends.
I'm hey, Andrew, where's Old Town Square? And he's hello? I haven't seen you in a few days. What are you doing? What are you doing here? He's yeah, it's over that way. I'm okay, thanks, bye. And I just walk away. I'm just yeah, that's just a normal.
See, yeah, he's probably gonna wake up the next day was that a dream?
Yeah, what the, do we actually, was that just a dude that looked like that?
Or hallucinating? Yeah.
And so I remember I'm okay, I kind of know where Old Town Square, if I can get there, then I can get to the hostel. But so I get there and then I don't know where the hostel is. So I'm still
how the fuck, Matt?
We got so cocky. We didn't we had maps. So we're I'm trying to, but
you guys just checked in and didn't look back. You're I'll never see this hostel again.
I know.
How do you not even know what it looks like?
Well, we kind of knew what it looks like, but all the buildings and streets look the same. And then all the street signs have those Ovechkin letters that we couldn't read. So we're just I don't know what is what here. I can't read the map and I'm too drunk to read the street signs. So I finally I keep going back and I go back to Old Town Square, go and I get lost 6 times. So finally I find the place, and then I get into the lobby of the place. I'm oh, thank God. And it's 6 a.m, of course, at this time, right?
Jesus. And
the guy working the hostel, I'm yeah, I don't have my key. Can you let me into room 408?
He's absolutely not.
Thankfully, that's what he should have said. He should have just been you're sleeping on the street.
God.
But he's so nice, and he's but he starts laughing at me. He's just you're an idiot. I'm but he keeps laughing. I'm what is so funny? He's you didn't hear what happened to your buddy yet, did you? I'm no, what is
God.
this? And he's yeah, so few hours ago, the cops came in here dragging in this guy that they found rolling around in the street.
God, what the fuck does that mean?
Not like meandering, but just rolling through the cobblestone. And he didn't have, and they're like, yeah, he didn't have anything on him, any ID, any phone. All they found was a map of the hostel with it like circled on it. So they just brought him here.
That's amazing. That's like detective work. Yeah, good for them.
The nicest cops ever. They're like, yeah, we just decided to bring him here instead of the drunk tank, I guess.
Yeah.
They bring him there, but I guess he was so drunk, he didn't know his name. So they kept on asking him his name, and he was too drunk to speak.
That is insane.
It's bad. It's like reckless.
Oh my God.
We're like, geez. So he apparently would sit him down and he would like ask him his name. They're like, okay, we'll wait for him to sober up to get his name.
Yeah.
Every time they'd like look away and like talk to each other, he would sprint to the top floor of the building, which wasn't even hostel up there. It was just apartments, and he'd start pounding on every single door possible. So the cops would have to like run up there, drag him back down, and then like say and they'd be like, yeah, finally he just like admitted his name like after he got sober enough. So he was like, he went up there, and then I like got up there and I realized, I get up there and we all lost each other at the end of it. So I figure like everyone had individually lost each other.
You guys were figuring on like when each other lost each other? Yeah.
So we like everyone lost each other and like did the same thing I did and like came back one by one, and like I told them the story each of us. So then we go back down there, we're like, oh my God, dude, like I'm so sorry. Like, we're such assholes. Like, I'm sure you don't get much like this. He's like, no, you guys are fine. Like, that's not even the worst thing we've had this week. And we're like, what?
Oh
it's just like, yeah, like earlier this week, we had this like group of British guys in this like bachelor party. They were getting a bunch of noise complaints up in your guys' room. And so we go in there and like bust in. As soon as we like open the door, this naked dude covered in shit flies at us out of the out of the door, and we open it up, and there's just like 6 British dudes like passed out with like feces all over them and welts.
What?
And tasers. They're like, so they apparently had just like gotten so drunk and tased each other until they shit themselves.
Oh my God.
And they're like, yeah, so that's like a normal week here. We're like, okay, we don't feel bad at all.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, you're like, you're welcome that we were just drunk, I guess. Yeah. Holy fuck.
And that's all we did. So that was.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so we ended up like getting back, in one piece, but it was like.
Barely.
All of
Jesus.
Us. Yeah.
Oh my God. You're like ashamed of yourself right now.
I was just like, it's so, like just ridiculous. Like, how do you have that much confidence to go to a foreign city where you don't know the language? Just be like, yeah, I'm just going to black out and then just, see what happens.
Yeah.
Just see, I'll make it back.
Yeah, eventually.
Eventually.
Getting dragged in by the police. Yeah.
Of course, we like asked, Tim, or he's like, oh yeah, I don't remember past 4 p.m. or whatever.
Jesus.
Like, yeah,
what were you doing that day? Like, why were you guys all such messes?
I don't know. We didn't like start drinking heavily until that bar crawl too. I think we just like went at it. So because it was also like 2 weeks in.
Your body was probably just like, oh, 1 beer, we are blacked out now.
Yeah, and it was like. It took us so much to get drunk at that point in the trip where we really had to hit it hard every night because we were just functioning alcoholics at that point.
Were there any stops like after Prague?
Yeah, we went to Berlin, and that was Berlin and Amsterdam were after that, but we were pretty shell-shocked by
I did remember you advised me on making Amsterdam the last stop of my Eurotrip, which I do appreciate because it's very chill. You're like, you just go there, all you do is smoke and just relax and then like hang out. So yeah, I'm glad that you made it back in one piece, barely. Do you have any trips coming up? Like, what's next for you?
Nothing big. Yeah, going to Minneapolis for a week, doing some comedy there.
Nice.
And then couple weddings. It's the weddings is what I have like 7 weddings.
You have a lot of friends that want to just commit themselves.
Man, it's I think it's because I'm 29 and everyone's like, well, we got to lock
get married before we're 30.
Yeah, that's the rules.
Yeah. Especially in Minnesota. Yeah. That's the rules, and we're getting married. We're getting hitched.
Yeah, so that's what the travel budget's going towards now.
Yeah. Are you standing up in any of the weddings?
In one of them, yeah, in a couple weeks, Charleston.
Big fan of just attending.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, big fan of just attending, not a fan of standing up. I'm like, you don't need me up there. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I feel like, obligated. I feel like I have to like punch up a speech too, and I feel like I got to kill.
Oh, are you the best man? They're probably like, he's funny. He can. Oh, okay, good.
I don't have the
They're gonna make you edit it. Yeah. They're going to make you put some punchlines in the middle of there.
Yeah. That's the problem with hanging around comedians, though. It's just going to be all like terrible offensive things that I've just absorbed.
Yep. And then you're like, God, that was awful. And then you're like, here's how I would have done it. And then you just rip on them later. Awesome. Do you have anything you want to plug? What's coming up comedy-wise? Any cool projects that you're working on? Where can people find you?
Yeah. You can find me at goodonematty.com. That's a bunch of dates on there if you want to check out my stuff. M-A-T-T-Y, goodonematty, matty.com. And so I have a monthly show at Low Risk Brewing called 2 Weeks Notice, where we talk about horrible job stories. So similar theme.
Very funny. Everyone go.
Very fun. Mary Kate's done it and killed it. So come check that one out. It's pretty cool if you're in Chicago. And then here in Logan Square, I do the weekly Friday stand-up show at 7 p.m.
That's right.
Check that one out.
That's also very fun. And they have free beer for everybody. It's super great. Or free seltzers, because Matt's gluten-free. So
new thing. Just trying to rack up as many white things as I can.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I feel like your Minnesota accent has really rubbed off on me, and I'm going to start talking like a Canadian now. But thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Mary Kate. Fun hanging out with you.
This was so great.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.